Today's video has been sponsored by Built Rewards. Chowder is a type of soup, but there are some differences between the two. Made with broth that is thickened with flour and cream with seafood. Soup is made with water or broth, pasta, vegetables, fruits, grains, meats, or seafood. So all chowders are soups, but not all soups are chowders? I'm even more confused now. But welcome back to the channel, everybody, and as the temperatures drop and the calendar flips to December, I feel like it's a perfect time to dive into the world of chowders. For a long time, the extent of my knowledge of these soups was New England and Manhattan clam chowder. That's pretty much all I ate. But through years of making these videos and then some recent travels, my mind has kind of been blown by the abundance and variety of chowders out there. So today, I've picked out a couple incredible looking recipes to compare and contrast and see which one comes out on top. So let's get right into this one. Before we can chow down, I had to stock up on various groceries such as potatoes and bacon and heavy cream, all the essentials, but as I was doing so and obtaining various points for those purchases, I realized, why do we earn points on purchases like this and not life's bigger expenses like, say, rent? If you've ever had that thought, allow me to introduce you to your new best friend and today's sponsor, Built Rewards. Built Rewards is a loyalty program that allows you to earn points on rent and redeem them towards things like flights and hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. Because like I mentioned, we already earn points on groceries, travel, and basically everything else we buy. So why not also earn some points on one of life's biggest investments, your rent payment? You simply download the app and make an account for free and begin earning valuable points on rent and other everyday spending. As far as I'm concerned, this is money I'd be spending regardless, so why not earn some points on it in the process? And Built has consistently ranked as the highest value points currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate, so you can get excited about redeeming them towards your next vacation you've been dreaming of. So do yourself a favor and click that link in the top line of the description or scan the QR code on screen now to make your Built Rewards account for free. Start earning points right now and make sure to use my URL so they know I sent you. First up today, I want to start with the classic and attempt Claire's New England clam chowder. I gathered some white wine, heavy cream, and whole clams, celery, flour, and clam juice, a russet potato and fresh fennel, some bacon, oyster crackers, an onion, salt and pepper, and a big old leek. We've got a lot of alliums going on here. For starters, which I don't know if that's standard. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever made a clam chowder for a video or otherwise, so this will be a good experience for all of us here today. I began by chopping up all of my vegetables, peeling and dicing up that potato. I chopped up the bacon into nice little chunks. You just want to have everything prepped up and ready to go so they can be all added to your one pot. And you won't have to keep going back and forth. By doing it this way, it should be able to keep a relatively easy workflow. You then get started by rendering off your bacon, starting in a cold pan to render out as much fat as possible, adding in all of your vegetables, which seems like a ton, I realize, but those should cook down quite a bit and release a ton of water. Adding in your flour to make your roux, deglazing with the white wine whenever things get a bit too hot, and then just one at a time, adding everything else in roughly the same quantities as Claire does. But let me just say, I am thrilled to be covering another Claire recipe, especially this video. I feel like I've watched it 8 different times. It's like one of my comfort videos, watching her go to her parents' house and jump in the lake and gather up her own fresh clams and steam them off with Vinny, aka Brad's old buddy from the Cursed channel. I'm not sure what that says about me that I've watched that video so many times, but Claire, if you are watching this, please make more similar to that one. And then just serve it up alongside a ton of oyster crackers, maybe a little hot sauce if you're like Steven and you can't eat any food without a liter of it on there. But for me, this bowl is looking just about perfect. I feel like I always try to make a little mountain of the crackers so that the bottom gets soggy, but then the top stays crisp. Swallowed half a damn cracker. So this is really, really good. I'm kind of ecstatic with the way it turned out. It's the perfect consistency for me. You get a little bit of everything in every single spoon, and it's achieved that perfect blending of flavors. Like, obviously it's very clam forward, but everything else blends together perfect. I was expecting to maybe get a lot of bacon or maybe some fennel, but it's all come together as one. It's very good. The only thing I did differently that I didn't even realize I did, was not intentional, was cook the potatoes in the soup. I realized afterwards she cooked the potatoes in just a pot of water off to the side and added them in. But this one gets my highest stamp of approval. Claire, you've done it again, unsurprisingly. Even if you've never had this type of soup, give it a shot. Now, from something I was very familiar with and have eaten a million times to something I've never tried once in my life, we've got a delicious looking Mexican street corn chowder. I grabbed some corn and heavy cream, ground cumin, chili powder, and cotija cheese, some water and a green bell pepper, bacon, a yellow onion, some fresh cilantro, a lime, a jalapeno, and salt and pepper. Obviously, ideally, this would have been made during corn season, which, if I'm not mistaken, is mostly the summer, maybe early fall in the US. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to settle for a few cans of sweet corn, but it kind of works out, since normally the recipe calls for you to chop up a few heads of corn and then add a ton of water to make your base. Whereas here, I just won't strain the cans and kind of use the corn liquid in place of the water. Some other interesting changes are the fact that we're gonna use a green bell pepper and a jalapeno instead of a celery stalk or any other type of veg, so that should introduce a nice little bit of bite and heat. And also, although it starts the same way, in a cold pan with your bacon, cook the veg in that fat, and then bloom some of your seasonings in that fat as well. We're making no roux here, there is no flour involved, and also, this is all gonna get dumped into a slow cooker, which I was a little surprised by. We have to dirty a pot anyway to cook off the bacon and everything else, so it was a little curious. But I'm gonna reserve any further judgment for now, because after about 2.5 to 3 hours, it's gonna get finished with the heavy cream and the lime zest and juice. It's gonna get blended with a stick blender or whatever kind of blender you got until you reach your desired consistency. I always do feel slightly weird about blending meat, but the blades on this immersion blender should be able to handle the bacon. And lastly, the crumbled up cotija, the chopped up cilantro, and a nice little drizzle of your lime juice is gonna finish our beautiful bowl off. If you cover anything in lime juice and cilantro, I will try it. Wow. I don't care what I grew up eating, this one blows that last one out of the water. My God. It is so salty and rich and sweet. It's got that savory from the bacon. It's a nice creamy texture. I actually kind of wish I blended it 2 seconds less, just so I had a few more like whole kernels of corn left. When you get that perfect bite with the cotija and the cilantro toppings, it is like euphoric. And the chili powder and cumin are not overwhelming. They're doing a nice job propping everything up. I actually almost forgot how much chili powder was in here. Props to whoever invented this one, because I could kiss you. Third and lastly today is a chowder I have amusingly had just one time, that being the Alaskan salmon chowder. I grabbed a lot of milk and salmon, a bottle of clam juice and flour, some bay leaves, water, more bacon, another onion, some Yukon potatoes and celery, fresh chives, fresh parsley, and salt and pepper. I say it's funny that I've only had this once, because it's kind of perfect how it's a contrast of the last two soups. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know this existed. I had never heard of it before until last year, when Steven and I traveled out to Seattle for the first time. Of course, purely for business, just to film the intro to that last Pumpkin Spice Month video. Obviously, we got some fun stuff in too, including hitting up a bunch of restaurants, and I feel like every single one of them had one of these on their menu. It started extremely similarly to the first one, with the bacon and cooking your veg in the fat. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. I didn't know that a requirement of a chowder is seemingly a lot of bacon. But where it deviates, thankfully, is after you cook off your roux, you go in with just one bottle of the clam juice, a ton of milk, which is obviously the majority of the substance of this, You peel and chop and then drop your potatoes to cook in this liquid, which is maybe where I thought I should have done that for Claire's. And after about 15 minutes of simmering away, you just plop down your chopped up fish, allow that to cook for another 3 to 4 minutes or so. That should not take long at all. And finish it off with a whole heaping handful of your herb of choice. I think Kenji mentioned you can use dill, chives, or parsley. I'm gonna use equal parts of the latter, and then garnish with more of the same. It's probably time to get some new bowls. This might sound weird, but the creamy part of this actually more closely resembles the taste and even like mouthfeel of a can of New England clam chowder. The potatoes are almost identical, which is a bit strange. I didn't really expect that. And it's kind of like not perfectly smooth. It's still a pleasant mouthfeel. Like it's not super gritty or anything. It's just a very distinctive and different texture. It's really good though. It does remind me of the trip. The salmon is cooked fairly well, maybe a touch over, but when it's in a soup like this, it doesn't really matter. Like it's not gonna be dry, but it's not really blown me away like I was hoping. So I would say for final rankings, corn, clam, Sam, in that order.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my 18. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision.